Question 30c. Joel mixes petrol and oil in the ratio 40:1 to make fuel for his leaf blower. Part 1. Joel pours 5 litres of petrol into an empty container to make fuel for his leaf blower. How much oil should he add to the petrol to ensure that the fuel is in the correct ratio? A very simple way to do this would be to take the 5 litres, divide it by 40, and then multiply it by 1 to give us the amount of oil required. But maybe before we do that, let's convert 5 litres into millilitres, since there's going to be a division involved. And by converting the litres into millilitres, hopefully we can avoid the use of decimals. So 5 litres is equal to 5,000 millilitres. Now to work out the amount of oil, 5,000 divided by 40, since 40 parts corresponds to 5 litres of petrol. So the value of 1 part is found by dividing it by 40, but then we multiply it by 1 because that corresponds to the second term of the ratio. So whatever this number is here, that corresponds to this number here. And that equals 125 millilitres of oil. Part 2. Joel has 4.1 litres of fuel left in his container after filling his leaf blower. He wishes to use this fuel in his lawnmower. However, his lawnmower requires the petrol and oil to be mixed in the ratio 25:1. How much oil should he add to the container so that the fuel is in the correct ratio for his lawnmower? There's many ways of going about this problem, but one way to think about it is, let's find out how much petrol there is left in the container. After all, there's petrol and oil mixed together to create this fuel. This is for the leaf blower. So the amount of petrol left in the container is found by taking how much fuel there is, which is 4,100 millilitres of fuel. So that's the petrol and the oil together. There are 41 parts in total, and that comes from the original ratio, 40:1. And then we multiply that by 40, since there's 40 parts petrol and 1 part oil. And that gives us 4,000 millilitres of petrol left in the container. Now remember that there's oil in the container as well. So if there's 4.1 litres of fuel, 4 litres or 4,000 millilitres is petrol, there must be 100 millilitres of oil in the container, which gives rise to this calculation. So oil left in the container is 4,100 millilitres, so that's the total amount of fuel, minus the amount of petrol that we just determined, and that gives us 100 millilitres of oil left. So now to determine how much extra oil to add. So oil needed for a 25:1 mix, we take the amount of petrol that we have in the container, divided by 25 multiplied by 1, so that comes from the ratio 25:1, and that equals 160 millilitres of oil. But we have 100 millilitres of oil already in the container. So only 60 millilitres extra oil needs to be added to then create a 25:1 petrol oil mix.